So, GTA 6 is aching closer and closer. Everyone effing chat for those who died waiting. Anyways, there's a few concerns about GTA 6, I agree with that, because the previous game was released right after I finished elementary school in 2013, which had a very different political climate. That's exactly why the worries of GTA 6 are so prominent. I'm a real gangster game fan, right? And honestly, I'm quite disappointed what happened to franchises such as Saints Row. They tried to be woke, they went broke, you know the story, and I don't want to be the biggest gangster in the room because everyone else either pisses their bed, whines about capitalism, or does both. I don't even know how you get pleasure out of that. You must be psyoped pretty badly by the whole system. The fuck would you have without capitalism? Certainly not video games. So apparently GTA 6 will follow a couple, basically the new age Bonnie and Clyde. And some people don't like that Bonnie acts more like a man than I do. Okay, apparently her name is Lucia, but whatever. And apparently some people have activated their hyper-autism to scan through every single screenshot of the trailers and whoa! I was trying to make a point. Please don't send me off to the loony bin just yet. When I look at Rockstar's resume, they have many interesting titles, which I absolutely adore by the way. The combat system, the cameras, they're never the issue. Graphics, they can always be updated, get a fucking life. And I think the primary issue with the Boss Baby is gonna be because people have been sickened by it because of Hollywood. And Hollywood ain't what it used to be. I miss the times of Sarah Connor in Terminator 2. And honestly, she didn't really do anything impossible and didn't act like a guy. A traumatized woman, may I add, who saw the fate of humanity slip through her fingers. But yeah, that woman has a different archetype than we have in GTA 6, and to be honest, after Terminator 2, they also weren't that good no more. The writing became more staler, less effort, because it was all about name recognition, because they had a cash cow on their hands, just like with GTA. You already know that. I think a boss babe character is not impossible to pull off, and you might be able to write her well, but honestly, saying this all feels like there's someone pushing a gun to my head because fucking hell, why the fuck do we want that shit? Oh yeah, of course, to control women. We want to control women, guys. Write it in the comments, please. New Gamergate unlocked. Also, before we judge GTA 5 as an independent piece of art and why it worked, I do have to give one thing, one red flag, a little small red flag. The third trailer will drop on August 27th instead of 29th. 29th would be the 20th anniversary of Saints Row, so that would be a nice little finger. But alas, not everyone is as autistic as I am. Oh yes, one more detail, there are rumors that there are many women on the development team. Now, I'm not saying I'm sexist, because that's scientifically impossible because I'm a transsexual and stuff. But honestly, I had more faith in the game if it was developed by lead male writers, because unfortunately enough, I usually see this pattern with women. They say yes and nod along, but I don't know what you're talking about, especially my generation. I'm not saying that's always the case, but I see it as a pattern. And I also see that usually guys are held accountable, while women usually are seen through the fingers a lot more. Is that a saying in English? I don't know if it works. Had pats, stickers and cookies for doing something that's not that special, most guys just agreeing blindly because they simps. A huge subculture who learned to hate men because college taught them so and the education system taught them so. A little bit of naivete against the system because it's just like Big Brother and the ancient tribes we had as human beings. You know, the alpha. But that's about all of my worries about the game and Western civilization as well. But you know what? Let's get into GTA 5. Thank you very much. I am very grateful that we have GTA 5. I recently replayed the game and honestly, I think it's quite masterful. The game is quite a build-up and plays with expectations. You're playing with 3 robbers, but for some reason you cannot play the third one, Brad. Subversions are one thing, which is why 14-year-old me never got that Michael actually wasn't shot. And they're pulling off this heist and they're supposedly going to meet this chopper, but it was never there. It was all a setup created by Michael and the FIB, but we only learn about that later in the game. And after the tutorial mission, which is used to set up the story, there is a time jump of 9 years. Now Trevor actually is also controlled at one point, where you fend off cops, and if you're a good shot, it actually shows what kind of a psychopath Trevor is, but that's kind of up to the player. Nah, just kidding, Trevor is a piece of garbage, a human piece of waste, an actual psychopath, a manipulative asshole, but that makes him a great character. Because let's be honest guys, in which gangster game do you play as a good person? Also, Brett was never meant to be shot. It was actually targeted towards Trevor because he's unhinged and unpredictable. And that's just one more reason why Michael wanted to get out of that chaotic lifestyle. Now, there's always some copper or some detective looking for a reputation gain, and since Michael was so skilled at stealing, he actually managed to pull off a deal. If anything, it reminds me of that Steven Spielberg movie Catch Me If You Can. You know, the one where they catch the criminal and use him for his skills? The one who pretended to be Barry Allen, of all things. Now, despite me wiping out 90% of the local police force with Trevor, they didn't see him as a threat after he escaped into a heavy blizzard, probably assuming him to die. Now, in Trevor's defense, he did move apparently to a deserty area where it's basically the middle of nowhere and he lives in a trailer. Michael got himself a family, which was the reason why he wanted to depart from the life of crime. If you ask me, he could have continued for a little while because marrying the first stripper he saw was not a great idea. And you can really see that in the story. They don't have love, they might have never had love, and it was just falling in lust, like Trevor said. Now, Michael's wife treats him like an enemy, openly hostile, cheating on him. And because Michael only ever knew a path of criminality, he doesn't really know how to give good guidance to his son, nor his daughter, who becomes a bimbo. His son does criminal acts, but only towards his dad usually. And let's say that the daughter takes after the mom. So now Michael goes to therapy every single week because the only person who wants to hear him out is his psychiatrist for good pay. I like how Michael says that it doesn't work for him, because there are indeed many sources who state that it does not work for men because it's not solution orientated. And then we have Trevor, who ever since Michael's quote-unquote death or disappearance has been gathering useful idiots such as Ron and Wade. Wade, his friends, being murdered by Trevor as he brought them to a certain specific location, Wade only thinking they ditched him, unfortunately, and Ron, whose wife left him because Trevor threatened to butcher her, only then using the argument if she really loved you she would have stayed with you and accepted your friends. That's what Trevor is for kind of person, only to turn around and tell Michael how to raise his kids. And honestly, I think that the family members from Michael's side do add a lot. You really know who was wearing the pants in Trevor's relationship, as in associates/friends. They do illuminate that Trevor's personality has been deteriorating ever since Michael's disappearance and/death, which you might have already guessed he staged. Which is honestly another reason for Michael to be concerned. Also, I like the fact that his wife is really into the whole performative outrage thing. She knew who she married. And later on in the game, Jimmy drugs his dad after he smashed his TV. And because this was during driving, and Jimmy lies towards his mom that his dad was doing drugs while driving. And because Michael acted quote-unquote erratic before, except for the fact that, you know, he caught his wife Amanda in bed with the tennis teacher, and Amanda acting sussy with a new yoga teacher. I get why Michael is paranoid. Also considering that Amanda used to be a stripper. Ovulation is real, and this game was quite ahead of its time, especially if you're familiar with these dating memes. You might know the ones I'm talking about. Also, I love that there's an Easter egg which hints that Michael's drug trip was partly not hallucinated. Also, if you're familiar with Easter eggs in GTA 5, you might know that there is an alien buried in the ice in the tutorial mission. I know that GTA nowadays is mostly popular for its online gameplay, but honestly, I think the GTA 5 storyline is quite genius the way it illuminates the dark underbelly of human nature. It literally was Amanda's fault that Michael went into crime again. Obviously, Michael doesn't want to be disrespected. It is obvious as Amanda not wanting to carry any responsibility for her own actions. And yes, I know what Michael did to the car dealership, but if you ask me, that was karma. So Michael follows the tennis coach that he caught red-handed together with his woman. This is where we have to introduce Franklin for the story to make sense. Now everything I'm talking about is just a build-up, right? Just the first chapters of the game, so you know it's genius. So we get introduced to Franklin, he's a hustler, he works as a repo for a car dealership. You know, repossessioner. And we see that the owner is a very socially manipulative person who knows how to play people well. May it be lying about Franklin's future aspirations while customers are there? May it be pulling the race card on white customers because he looks Arab? Or may it be giving Franklin a meaningless bagat so he can manipulate Lamar, his friend? Or overcharging a ton and then repossessing the car within a week? Nothing is off limits for this guy, even though Jimmy bought that car with his dad's money that he probably stole. But it's still very satisfying to see Michael pop up in the back of that car that Franklin is repossessing. See Michael force Franklin drive the car through the car dealership's window and deliver some citizen vigilante justice. Also, because Franklin told the truth to Michael about what was going on, Michael tells sarcastically to Franklin that he'll one day show him how the world really works, as they sit down with a drink. So obviously Franklin returns, just as Jimmy stole his dad's boat. With Jimmy on it. Without the buyers paying, while they drive into the sunset with their new boat. So then you repossess Jimmy and fix up the car which you used, which was from Michael's wife. And then there is also a mission with Franklin when you walk up to the mansion that Michael owns and you see the tennis coach jump off of the balcony. Next thing you know, the ball boy hides in some sort of mansion that's owned by some sort of gangster and Michael needs to pay off a debt. You know, after you turned the bird's nest into a molehill. That's why they went back into bank robbery. Whoa! What did we learn, kids? Don't marry a floozy. Oh yeah, and don't recycle your punchlines. No, seriously, that's how Trevor finds out it was Michael.
Yo, show for the last time. Move it.
Man, get the fuck out my face.
Oh.
You forget 1,000 things every day, pal. Make sure this is one of them. I'll see you at the river. Go!
And later on, the witness would repeat this on the news, which made Trevor suspicious, him forcing Wade to do research. Also, the main cast is very selective to who they give respect, except for maybe Franklin. Michael doesn't let himself get fucked with by Trevor, because Trevor usually uses fear like the Scarecrow from Batman in order to control people, and usually people fall for Trevor's manipulation, but Michael usually does not and plays along. And this really gets Michael a special place in Trevor's heart, despite of the fact that Michael does see him as an active threat. Despite of Michael running away from Trevor, Trevor does not harm him. However, we do see in little gestures and motions, such as the scene where Trevor gets introduced again towards Michael's family, that Trevor isn't actually very much welcomed. It's why Michael pushes Jimmy behind him. And Michael does love his son, he just doesn't know how to show it. Also, here's a quick tip. If your wife acts like she's getting a heart attack after a yoga teacher invites you to join for a session, get out of there, you silly goose. Yeah, I mean, you should be her #1 man. Otherwise she's cheating on your ass, take it to the bank. So that's a really good setup for a story. I'm not gonna spoil too much. You know, for this game, that if you watch this video might already be decades old, but it does have you work for the FIB. And only the third ending is coded. Other notable side characters include Floyd, who really doesn't want to be there, whose apartment is hijacked because he lives in the same city as Michael. Oh yes, and Trevor doesn't want to pay for a hotel. So there's plenty of interesting characters in the game, but I decided to boil it down to the most relevant ones. There was also a character named Lamar, but his presence got cut down a lot, just like how the ending of Franklin dying was cut as well. Insanely enough, he would be replaced by Lamar. Don't get me wrong, I do like Lamar's presence on screen, but I'm glad we got the alternate ending that we did. Apparently the voice actor of Lamar did have legal issues, and I hope he's doing well.
Nigga. What?
And last but not least, we have Lester. He used to be the brains behind the operations that Michael did in the past, as well as Trevor, of course. And as it turned out, he kept tabs on Michael all this time. But that's what you get for hanging out with semi-intellectuals. Now the story is great, but if there's one thing this game shines in, it's the humor. It's not always very pleasant humor. I mean, you're literally torturing people for the FIB. That's kind of dark, as well as a that's interesting kind of funny. You know, if you know, you know. Also, there's a mission with Fame or Shame. Fame or Shame is an in-universe TV show, and it basically has this presenter, Laszlo, and he's kind of the embodiment of the archetype of Hollywood elitist. Which usually isn't just totally accurate, but also hilarious. Stacy really thinks she a genius, but she's just dancing like a stripper. Now obviously I understand that there's like nothing wrong with that in the eyes of a mother. Also Laszlo thinks she's got 2 dads. But since Trevor and Michael just met once again, they go find Laszlo and stalk him and make him dance in his undies. Also I think he likes it. Also the dialogue is gold.
Look, I'm just a dumb A-list celebrity trying to entertain America, okay? I got a lot of stuff going on right now, dude, besides you trying to kill me. Now I got multiple sexual harassment lawsuits, plus I'm an addict, all right? And I've relapsed. I can't stop jacking, dude. I jack it in traffic.
What's your talent, huh? I mean, aside from love and sex.
Dude, haven't you seen my show? It's not live, it's not funny. That's my genius. I got no fucking talent.
Also, I love how you can take a hit from Jimmy's bong being Michael, and he'll have a schizo episode about it.
Shit. I'm a father and I'm stoned. I'm a stoned father. I'm a father. Yep, that's me. I'm a father and I'm taking fucking drugs. No wonder my kids take drugs. No wonder they hate me. It's a wonder they don't hate me more. Huh?
Also, to close off the video, because I've been working on it for like 4 days, which is probably about the most daring satire of all of them. And as you play as Michael, who needs Lester his service, so Lester asks for something in return. And that is sabotaging a prototype of a new phone. And they're actually called Live Invader, which is 100% accurate. Also, I'm sure that the guy who lets you in actually knows who you are already. And he gives you a little task of removing his antivirus off of his computer. Don't pretend, you could have done that yourself, boy. And after you sabotage the device, you go home, only to watch TV and call up the device. Calling it up will make it explode, in the face of the CEO, who looks remarkably like Mark Zuckerberg. But they called him Jay Norris. Honestly, the first time I saw that, I was blown away. Maybe almost as much as he was. I do think there's humor sprinkled throughout the entire game. I also did not talk about certain elements twice, such as the car salesman, which has Franklin in employment at the beginning of the game. I did see a Karen in the GTA 6 trailer, but I hope that's not gonna be the only archetype we'll see. I don't really like PC culture, unless you're talking about the gaming PC. Hell yeah! Anyways, let me know what you think, and I'll see you on the flip side. Or like, whatever. Subscribe.